So Donald Trump and the Republicans had a terrible defeat for them in Texas, right? That essentially a red district went blue. And so what they're doing now is panicking and talking about taking over and nationalize the voting. This is the headlines then today. Trump wants to, quote, nationalize the voting, seeking to grab states' power. Okay, let this stuff sink in. This is Trump's own words. He was on the Dan Bongino show. You can listen to it for yourself.
And they vote illegally. And amazing that the Republicans aren't tougher on it. The Republicans should say, we want to take over. We should take over the voting in at least 15 places. The Republicans ought to nationalize the voting. And we have states that are
So he wants to take over the voting. That's coming from Trump. And this should really be worrying to a lot of people, right? And if you look at the actions that Trump is up to, send the military to multiple cities. He wants to normalize that, right? You get used to seeing boots on the ground. There's violence, as you know. They've already killed people on the streets. And now we're talking about the elections now, nationalized voting. Polling data shows that they're losing. The last election, like a big one in Texas, they lost big, even though they outspent the Democrat candidate. The Republicans lost. And so now they're resorting to this. Trump, who continues to falsely claim that he won the 2020 election, has baselessly alleged widespread fraud. And this is why it makes talking to MAGA people so difficult. I know exactly how it is, guys. I mean, how do you talk to people who just peddle conspiracy theories nonstop? And anytime I see this stuff, be it on the internets or whatever, I'm always like, okay, I'm curious. Just Google it, whatever. And it's always time and time again. It's just a bunch of nonsense. And it's not just this. It's like nonstop nonsense on the White House feed or whatever. And it's like, you lie about the small things. You lie about the big things. You just lie about everything. That's basically what it boils down to. And then you got Donald Trump and Elon Musk. They have their various platforms as nonstop this stuff. And so I get it because the MAGA people, oh, but Chris, we have to nationalize the voting. We have to take away states' rights because we got to stop all the cheating, right? We got to stop it all. And it's just like, if that were indeed the case, then you would see like the evidence nonstop, right? There's no evidence. This is just it's just a conspiracy theory. I don't know how to say it. I mean, at this point, you might as well just, why aren't we talking about Area 51 at this point, right? That's what it's got to be. I'll read a little bit of this. It says, President Donald Trump said Monday that Republican lawmakers should nationalize voting, claiming a power explicitly granted to the states in the U.S. Constitution, right? This is a states' rights thing. Speaking to the right-wing podcaster Dan Bongino, right? And he used to be at the FBI. Trump was falsely making claims about the 2020 election, right? And this is like 2020. I mean, we were like 6 years ago already. He's still harping about this thing. Quote, we should take over the voting in at least 15 places. The Republicans ought to nationalize the voting. So I'm sure it's going to be blue states where Trump's want to try to do that. Under the Constitution, the times, places, and manner of holding elections are determined by each state, not the federal government. Congress has the power to set the election rules, but the Constitution does not give the president any role on that subject. Republicans in recent decades have often argued in favor of states' rights and against a powerful federal government. It's kind of crazy how things have changed, right? And then lately, Trump's been sending down Tulsi Gabbard and his people to Fulton County, Georgia. They're seizing, it says, physical ballots, voting machine, tabular tapes, images, etc. And this is just rehashing old conspiracy theories from 2020 is what we're still doing. This is Benny Johnson, who doesn't deny it. He's actually tweeting it out. So one of the Trump's people, Benny, says, breaking, President Trump specifically directed, so I guess told, directly Tulsi Gabbard, and she's got a whistleblower complaint against her, which we just talked about in the last yesterday, to be present for the execution of the search warrant in Fulton County, Georgia, in connection with the investigation of the 2020 election. And there she is creeping around. Like, what's she doing there? And it's interesting because the New York Times got more information about what happened and how it went down. And there's this like weird phone call that Tulsi made. I'll read through this, guys. You got to hear it for yourself. right? By any measure, the FBI's search of an election center in Fulton County, Georgia last week was extraordinary. Agents seen truckloads of 2020 ballots as President Trump harnessed the levers of government, not only buttress his false claims of widespread voter fraud, but also to try to build a criminal case against those he believes wronged him. So again, he's just going after his political opponents. And then it was reported recently, I guess every morning now they're going to have this working group to figure out who they can prosecute with the DOJ. That's what Trump's up to. Behind closed doors, Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, met with some of the same FBI agents, members of the Bureau's field office in Atlanta, which is conducting the election inquiry, 3 people with the knowledge of the meeting said. They could not say why Miss Gabbard, who also appeared on site the search, was there. So it was kind of weird. Like, what are you doing here? It's just not your job, right? But remember, that's what it goes back to where Trump's like, you personally got to go down there, I guess. But her continued presence has raised eyebrows, given that her role overseeing the nation's intelligence agency does not include an on-site involvement in the criminal investigative work, right? And this also becomes really important when you hear about that whistleblower complaint, which they're trying to bury. And again, what occurred during the meeting was even further outside the bounds of normal law enforcement procedures. Ms. Gabbard used her cell phone to call Mr. Trump, who did not initially pick up, but called back shortly after. This is where it gets even more crazy. The president addressed the agents on speakerphone. So you're supposed to be doing some like investigation or whatever. And now we're doing on speakerphone. Asking them questions as well as praising and thanking them for their work on the inquiry. The supervisor of the squad, which investigates allegations of public corruption and civil rights violations and developed the evidence for the search, primarily fielded Mr. Trump's queries. That's one of Trump's people, it sounds like to me. One U.S. official said the call was fairly short, perhaps just a minute long, and compared the conversation to a pep rally or a coach giving encouragement halftime speech to his players. That person said the president gave no substantive direction to the investigators. So that's sort of what they did. It's the whole thing is really irregular. It's unusual. And again, the whistleblower complaint against Gabbard matters quite a bit. And this is what Trump's using his time to do.
And you bring a gun into the district, you mark my words, you're going to jail. I don't care if you have a license in another district, and I don't care if you're a law-abiding gun owner somewhere else. You bring a gun into this district, count on going to jail, and hope you get the gun back. And that makes all the difference.
Yeah, it's amazing how accountability works. You know, when people think that if they actually get arrested, they might have to do time and they might be taken off the street. It sort of puts a little different message into people's heads.
Bizarre, right? You bring a gun to district, you mark my words, you're going to jail. I don't care if you have a license in another district, and I don't care if you're a law-abiding owner somewhere else. You bring a gun to the district, count on going to jail and hope to get the gun back. So I'll be frank on this, guys. I always say the same thing. Like I'm actually for gun control and tighter regulations. But the current law of the land is Second Amendment stuff, right? And for people who love Republicans and love Second Amendment, like what do you make of this stuff? What do you make of this? Like they're just going to arrest you for having a gun, even if you legally have it, which is whacked out, to be frank. And then you have this, which is just open corruption. Melania is Amazon's airbrushed and astronomically priced portrait of the First Lady, right? So this reviews of her documentary, and the reviewers were saying that this might be the most expensive infomercial in history. The numbers floating around there is like $75 million on this thing. That includes the marketing of it. I think they made $7 million in the first week. So it's going to be a big dog / loser for them. But why would Amazon spend money on it? Well, take a look at this. There's Hegseth. Oh my God, there's Jeff Bezos. Wow. Thank you so much. Really appreciate making the Melania documentary. Really appreciate that. Oh, by the way, here's these government contracts, right? And I know, and I'm being a little mean here, but I know MAGA people aren't too bright. Like I said, I'm a little bit mean. But I think they're at least smart enough to understand how corruption works. They should be smart enough to understand that, right? You give a whole bunch of money to make Melania's movie, and then, oh my God, you end up getting with government contracts worth billions. That's what this game is all about. You can see it right there. It's so obvious.
Mr. President, the Wall Street Journal reported that the royal family of Abu Dhabi invested hundreds of millions of dollars in your World Liberty Financial. Can you explain why you decided to take that investment? Was that a transaction?
Well, I don't know about it. I know that crypto is a big thing and they like it. A lot of people like it. The people behind me like it. My sons are handling that. My family is handling it. And I guess they get investments from different people, but I'm not. I have all I can handle right now with Iran and with Russia and Ukraine and with all the things we're doing.
See, so they don't deny it. You just I don't know. That's my son's thing, right? They just take money from all kinds of places. It's obviously a scam. It's obviously corrupt. It's obvious. And then I understand, like I said, a little bit mean. I get upset when I see this stuff because it's just so obvious. And effectively what this ends up being, and just make it as simple as possible, they attack education because they want you to be dumb. I mean, as simple as possible. They attack education, they want you to be dumb. They don't want to have any critical thinkings whatsoever. And then they keep you dumb and they want you to hate, your neighbors, basically what it boils down to. All the problems in the world are due to black and brown people. Oh, okay, great. Let's all put on white hoods. That's essentially what it ends up being. And then they just do corruption out in the open, right? And their followers are just too stupid to even care about this stuff, right? They just want to stay poor and dumb and attack their neighbors. That's what it always be being. And I'm being a bit mean, but it's just, I have not seen this kind of brazen corruption like this. This is in my lifetime in the USA. It's just absolutely nuts. It's out in the open. Like, they don't even deny it. I mean, what can I say? And then, what they do, then they'll play culture war games and say, okay, well, you know what? Forget about all that. Just focus on Bad Bunny and the Super Bowl halftime is going to be terrible. And we're going to make our own Super Bowl halftime. And I guess, is that Kid Rock? Is that what we're doing? So dumb. Turning Point USA announces Kid Rock as rival headliner to Bad Bunny Super Bowl halftime show. And it's actually really interesting when you bring up any kind of the money stuff or, anything of substance to talk about. Seriously, this is a true story. Like, many MAGA people just say, but Chris, you're so dumb. What about those trans people? I really care about the trans people. Trans is like the most important thing. And it's like, if it's not that, and it's like, oh, what about the black and brown people? Oh my God, they're so terrible. And it's just like, then you realize, okay, I get what all this is really about, right? So the reality doesn't matter to these people. I know, and it's frustrating, but to take it from the positive, because I know you can focus on negatives a lot, but take it from the more positive perspective. That's only about 20, maybe 30% of the population. The other 70% aren't that whacked out. And it can't go on like this forever. It's just completely unsustainable because those people, just be frank with you guys, they're losers. And they're getting further and further behind, and they get more and more frustrated. They need a scapegoat, essentially what it ends up being. And it's sad, and I try to be as nice about this stuff as I can, because I be frank with you guys, I want everyone to have access to education, healthcare, public transportation. I want your infrastructure to be better. I want your jobs to be there for you. I'm not against jobs. I want you to have a job. But like, if you look at what the Trump people are doing, like openly to talk about crypto and AI and basically just stupid crap, AI that'll never work. And even if it does work, it's all about replacing you. And crypto, which is about devaluing the dollar, and you're going to be screwed that way. And then it's, that it's all about laundering and moving money around, according to Eric Trump, at $500 million and on a Friday night, because they have to do whatever deal they got to do. And then it's just siphoning money that could be helping you, going to places to basically Trump's pocket or his buddy's pocket. It's all out there in the open. And then they get you to go along with it with conspiracy theories. That's all it is. So that's my thoughts on this stuff, guys. I know it's frustrating, but I just want to tell you what's going on. And I'll catch you on the next video.